Okay, let us continue with this book. Hold on. Okay. Here we go. I think this is where I ended off last. Early the next morning, Risha disguised herself, donned the uniform of the Knights Cadets, and left before anyone else. Silent and still, the empty practice grounds had a sterile air to them. Training wouldn't start for another 90 minutes. I was especially careful when I snuck out. It took about 5 extra minutes. Starting today, Arnold resided in the room right next to hers. Oh, that's going to be very hard to get away. He'd be sleeping right now, but she wouldn't be surprised if the smallest of noises alerted him to her presence. When I'm finished cleaning, I'll stretch and then start my personal training. Okay. Rachel gripped her broom tightly and began to sweep the training grounds. She organized the wooden swords leaning against the wall, then did her stretches. While she was getting limber, somebody else walked onto the training grounds. Fritz! This was practically routine by now. She called out the same way she had the day before, but Fritz still twitched at the sound. He offered a strained smile. Morning, Lou. Everything okay? Something going on? Or are you just nervous? Morning? What's wrong? Did something happen? So I'm not the only one who kind of picked up on that. Huh? Oh, no, I just didn't sleep much last night, Fritz said bashfully, scratching his head. Rachel couldn't help worrying about him. He'd come all the way from Cutana to the capital, spending his training living in unfamiliar circumstances. The smallest thing could negatively affect his health. Well, you don't look pale or anything. Do you have a fever? How's your appetite? I ate breakfast like always, and I don't feel feverish. He's probably just nervous about the training today. Could you pull down your eyelid for me? She checked the color. It looked fine. He wasn't anemic like Kyle. Still, she wanted to examine him a little closer. Excuse me, Fritz. Whoa! She took Fritz's hand and placed 2 fingertips against the large veins in his wrist. Okay, checking his pulse. Rachel frowned, not liking what she felt. Your pulse is awfully fast. Ah! Fritz pulled back, flustered, and managed another awkward smile. I ran here from the palace gate, as part of my training. I may not have slept a lot, but I'm full of energy. And I wasn't losing sleep because I don't feel good. So why worry you then? Fritz took a long look at Riche and then covered his face with both hands, embarrassed. I might have fallen in love. Oh no! Is he falling in love with her? Oh no! Oh my god! They're freaking questioning his sexuality. Oh no, this is not going to be good. What? Congratulations! He'd mentioned he'd been sightseeing in the capital during his afternoons. He must have met someone there. Oh, did he spot Riche and Arnold? Oh dear. Oh, this is not good. Whatever the case, fostering new relationships was a wonderful thing. Someone I knew once told me that nights in love get stronger faster. Really? Rachel's blessing put a complicated look on Fritz's face. They were the words of another nation's knight captain. Maybe they sounded suspicious to him. While they were chatting, another person showed up. This was the first time anyone other than Fritz had arrived so early. Turning, they saw a fellow knight cadet. Good morning, Sven. It was the rude trainee from the day before. Sven kept silent, not returning Rachel's greeting. Yeah. He's still mad he got his butt kicked by her. Oh, him, I should say. Hang on, sorry, I had to take a sip of my coffee. Fritz stepped in front of her. Yo, Sven, you're up early for a change. Well, you mentioned yesterday that Lucius comes to the training grounds before anyone else. I didn't believe you. That's right. That's how Lou beat every single one of us. He works hard. Based on the conversation, Rachel could guess what had happened after yesterday's training. Fritz was still defending her against her will. Come on, Lou. Just ignore him. Let's start for the day. Thanks, Fritz. Could you wait a second, though? Rachel faced Sven and asked, Want to train with us? Huh? What are you talking about? What good does it do you to invite me? Just leave me alone. Yeah, his pride is still wounded. Rachel tilted her head to one side in confusion. Knights don't gain strength just to be the best swordsman in the country, do they? What? They gain strength to protect the ones they care about. That's why it doesn't mean anything unless everyone improves. Even if you're the strongest person in the world, there's only so many you can save. Sven stared at her wide-eyed. She wasn't a knight in this life, but she still remembered the changes she'd learned. Or the things she'd learned. Besides, she went on, you stayed behind yesterday and trained by yourself some more, didn't you? How do you know that? Because the ground here looks different than it did after practice. She'd since flattened it down with the broom, but he had most likely sparred with someone. Dirk told her that story, as did the small bruises on Sven's wrists. We have limited time. Training together would be more efficient, so what do you say? I didn't come here because I wanted to train with you. Sven clenched a fist and took a deep breath. Spar with me again, Lucius. Come on, Sven. Fritz gave him an exasperated look. Lou won yesterday because he's strong. It wasn't a fluke. I know you don't want to admit it, but... this guy... Oh, boy. I know that. Sven could barely get the words out. Lucius and I are on completely different levels. I realized that when I lost to him. I've been thinking about it non-stop. I even talked to other people about what I'm missing. What I have to do to get even a little stronger or to beat him. Taking a deep breath, he locked eyes with Riche. You're better than me. I know that. But I'm still asking for another match. That's the only way for me to figure out how to surpass you. I mean, to be fair, yeah, you probably want to do more sparring anyway, no matter if it's with Riche or somebody else. Sven's shoulders trembled, his face turning red. He looked like he was going to cry as his frustration, anxiety, and embarrassment threatened to overflow. Asking something like this of Riche took a lot of courage. Please, Lucius, give me another chance. Lou? Fritz glanced at her. Riche nodded, smiling. Sure, let's do it. Sven balked. Really? That was so fast. I mean, I was so rude to you yesterday. At least he acknowledged it. I don't care about that. I just didn't want to cause Fritz trouble. Besides, I've got a new technique I'd like to try. As Sven sputtered, Riche went to the wall and picked up a couple of wooden swords. Along with the normal swords they'd used yesterday, there were also short blades about half their length. By the way, can I ask what your conclusion was after all that? You're strong, but you've barely got any stamina. If I overpower you, I could force you on the defensive. True, I'd struggle if you did that. Riche smirked, picking up 2 regular swords and 2 short swords. Fritz, would you mind participating in this match as well? Yeah, of course. I was going to ask to fight you too. Ha, good. I'm glad you feel that way. Yeah. Riche laughed with relief, though Fritz looked troubled. The sudden change in demeanor confused her, but she nonetheless handed him and Sven 1 sword each. I have another request. Riche held the 2 short swords, one in each hand, and smiled. Don't fight me one-on-one. Both of you come at me together. What? Together? Fritz and Sven exchanged a look. Lou, you want to go 2 against 1? That's right. Will you indulge me? I am curious. It's either Fritz has a crush on Lucius, or he saw Riche out in the market the other day and fell in love with her on sight. It's either one of those 2, unless something comes out of left field. Fritz agreed right away. You said there's something new you want to try, right? Okay, I'm in. Don't disagree without me, Fritz, Sven protested. We can't fight Lucy at the same time. That's not fair. Sven, we won't be able to beat Lucius just by ganging up on him. Sven hesitated, but with the other boy already on board, he eventually held up his weapon too. Riche pointed one of her blades at Sven. I'm ready when you are. Let's go. Sven charged forward first with a wide, strong swing. He slashed out with all his might. Don't rely on brute strength. Riche took 1 step back and dodged the blow. Sven immediately swung again, aiming for her shoulder. She swatted his sword away, and just that was enough to knock him off balance. Yeah, don't use all your strength, because if you get knocked off balance like that, it's hard to kind of catch yourself. And that can leave you open. Ugh. Sven adjusted his grip. He was being hasty, but it was impressive that he hadn't dropped his weapon in the scuffle. You don't want to put all your weight into the strike. If you hit, it'll be hard to maintain your position. If you miss, it'll be even worse. Yeah! Every time you attack, always be thinking ahead to your next move. As Riche explained, she blocked Sven's blow with a sword in her left hand. Amid the loud clash of blades, she felt another one flying toward her. Riche raised her right sword and blocked the attack from above. Whoa, you're awesome, Lou! Grinning at Fritz's enthusiasm, Riche pushed the 2 of them back. She flipped her swords around and got in close to Sven. When she moved to jam a hilt into his gut, Sven blocked her. Nice move, so close. Riche spun around, swinging at Fritz this time. Fritz managed to block, but her attacks continued. She couldn't get a hit in on him. She switched to the other sword. Pushing Fritz back with her left, she swung at Sven with her right. Sven, don't block it. Dodge it. Ugh. Just like that. Sven, watch how Fritz moves. And Fritz, match your breathing to Sven's. The 2 of them briefly looked at each other, then attacked Riche as 1. It still wasn't enough. Almost there. If you were in the other person's position, where would you aim for? Ah. Sven shouted first. Right, I get it. Fritz, get down. Got it. At those words, Fritz dropped his hips without a moment's delay. He went down so low that he almost scraped the ground as he tried to sweep Risha's legs from under her. The moment she jumped to dodge, Sven lunged. She brought up both hands, blocking his attack with her blades, twisting her upper body as soon as she landed. Caught up in her motion, Sven fell in front of Fritz. I mean, they're improving! Fritz reached out to protect him, grabbing his arm and yanking him upright again, and the two of them immediately launched into another attack. Risha blocked them with both swords. Feeling the impact of the blows, Risha couldn't suppress her excitement. Amazing! They're already way better! They'd been attacking separately before, but the moment they focused on working together, their movements completely transformed. She had to wonder if they realized it. Even as she caught their swords, their eyes were still full of life. They were having the time of their lives, and it was clear as day on their faces. That's good! They're getting better. Fritz will push through on our next attack. Yeah, let's do it. Good choice, but too bad. Risha took a short breath and swiftly drew back. Huh? Without Risha's swords to push against, the boys lost their balance. She took advantage of the moment to strike at Fritz's sword, spinning the tip of her blade. Unable to withstand this coiling motion, Fritz let go of his weapon, which went flying into the distance. Risha moved into Sven's range next. Ah! She brought her left blade down, and Sven blocked her with the horizontal guard. With the sword tensed for an impact from above, it was weak to a strike from below. Risha battered her right sword upward, loosening Sven's grip as well. His weapon spun in the air and hit the ground. Oh boy. Their match at an end, the two boys were in a daze. Risha whipped her swords through the air and beamed at them. It's just like I figured. During our matches yesterday, you two have good combat compatibility. Me and Fritz? That's right, I wanted to see how you'd work together. I'm glad I got an opportunity so soon. Both of them had talent, and it seemed they had a similar approach to swordsmanship. Otherwise, they wouldn't work so well together with just a few words of advice. If they both became knights, she was sure they'd progress incredibly quickly. Risha grinned, imagining that future for them, but Fritz and Sven were still slack-jawed. So the thing you wanted to try wasn't a skill or strategy, but us. That's right, it was really fun too. I'd love to do it again tomorrow. Sven's expression hardened. I can't believe you. As for Fritz, he seemed to find the whole thing hilarious. We'll have to meet up for morning practice again tomorrow, Sven. Let's have a strategy meeting so we can beat Lou. Fine, I'll be here, damn it. In fact, I'll get here before you do. Lucius, I don't know when you come and start stretching, but you won't beat me next time. I actually clean before I stretch, but that's just a personal habit. I won't mention it. Then Sven squeezed out, I'm sorry for everything. I told you it didn't bother me, didn't I? At that, Sven looked to be on the verge of tears. I'll beat you one of these days. Yeah, I don't plan on going easy on you, though. Damn it! Risha smiled, then felt eyes on her. When she turned, she found Fritz staring at her hard. Uh-oh. What's up, Fritz? Huh? Oh, no, it's nothing. I guess I was just thinking you smile a lot, Lou. You think so? Thanks. But to me, you're the one who always seems to be cheerful, Fritz. Deep down, she wished she could smile more, but when she let her mind wander, it tended to latch onto her worries. She fought to keep them off her face. She focused on the interests of the training. So the training class. There was no one else around yet, but it was still early. Lord Lavin will be here soon. I have to gather as much information as I can during today's training. I need to prepare for tonight. Thus, Risha covertly hyped herself up for the coming party. Risha chose a deep blue dress to wear that evening. Her maid Elsie did her hair, braiding it together in the back and coiling the loose bits around her face. The result was festive yet elegant and composed. Whenever Risha moved, her pearl earrings swayed to and fro. Dressed up in the understated but not conservative look she'd requested of her maids, Risha went over her strategy until a knock came at the door. Sorry. Lady Risha, I brought you some mail. The maid handed her 2 letters. One was from a girl named Mary. She was the fiancée of Prince Dietrich, the man to whom Risha had once been engaged. Oh boy, here we go with this. I wonder what this is all about. Mary and Risha have been corresponding ever since she come to Galkine. Oh, really? I wonder how this is going. Lady Mary, I see you're still working hard for Prince Dietrich at the palace. Mary, who had stolen Risha's fiancé from her, was still engaged to the prince, but now it had far less to do with marrying a rich man for her family's sake. Apparently, Dietrich had been on the verge of being disowned by his father, the king, and Mary was putting in a good deal of effort to his reform to prevent it. From the letter, Risha gleaned that people did not always treat her well. I mean, considering you stole the prince from Risha, she stole the prince from Risha, I can understand the people not liking that. I cannot talk. Mary was still doing her best to be both kind and strict with her fiancé nonetheless. I'll have to write a reply as soon as the party is over. Now for the other letter. She turned over the second envelope to find Crystal Light Jewelers written in one corner, the jewelry store she visited with Arnold. One of the items enclosed was the design for her ring. Rachel almost gasped in awe when she saw it. It's beautiful. So beautiful, in fact, that she wanted to forget everything and stare at it forever. Yet she resisted the urge and forced her eyes to the letter, which contained a list of notes the proprietress had on her grandson's design. In addition, it read, I mentioned the ring would take a month to make, but it seems some craftsmen from Koya's have arrived in the capital. If I commission them, the ring will be completed much sooner, so you have that to look forward to. Rachel blinked her wide eyes, surprised. Simply assigning different craftsmen to work on the ring means it could be finished that much sooner. That's great news, though. If the ring is ready fast, I can have my dress made to match. Mr. Tooley did say I should choose the fabric sooner rather than later. She glanced back at the design. Normally the dress would come first, I suppose, but I find myself wanting to prioritize the ring. Lady Riche, it's time. Oh, you're right, I apologize. Riche took a deep breath, put her letters away, and headed to the party. Oh, this could be interesting. The gala was held in the largest hall of the Imperial Palace. Once again, Riche entered with Arnold. The sparkling chandeliers and the extravagant costumes of the attendees made for a spectacular sight. Arnold, who didn't like parties, already wore a dour look. Your Highness, your thoughts are written all over your face. That's fine, I'm putting them there. Their short exchange was interrupted by Kyle, the guest of honor. Prince Arnold, thank you so much for holding such a grand event for me. Kyle bowed, turning to Riche. Lady Riche, you were beautiful earlier today. But in a situation like this, your beauty surpasses words. You look akin to a mythical flower that only blooms under moonlight. Dude, enough with the compliments. You're going to make anybody blush with that. Thank you, Your Highness. I hope you have a wonderful time tonight. Riche smiled politely, ignoring his social pleasantries. I've greeted Prince Kyle. There's my minimal duties fulfilled. Riche looked up at Arnold. Your Highness, I think I'll go chat with the ladies. It was Arnold's duty to introduce Kyle to the nobility in attendance. Conversations between a crown prince, a foreign prince, and several high-ranking nobles were no place for Riche, who was merely a royal's fiancé. This came as some relief since they hadn't yet married. She didn't have to participate in the meeting between Kyle and Lavin. But avoiding the Count completely during her time in the hall would be no easy feat. I imagine you won't be able to avoid him at some point. I'll see you later, Prince Arnold. Prince Kyle, please enjoy yourself. With the most elegant courtesy, Riche casually detached from the group. She wished she could take some countermeasures, but if she did anything strange next to Prince Arnold, people would notice. I should be fine from this distance. Now I need to concentrate. Having escaped to one of the walls, Riche took a deep breath. She strained her ears as she watched the party swirl around her. Conversation mixed with the clatter of shoes on the floor. She did her best to separate individual sounds from the moros. And not just sounds. All around her were beautiful dresses and capes, countless men and women on all sides. The more she concentrated, the wider her field of vision grew and the farther she could see. So essentially it's like enhancement magic, essentially. But it's not magic. There he is. Riche's honed senses drew her focus to one spot. He was so far away that she could barely make out his face, but she'd found Lavin. Given that she'd spent the last few days training under him, she was absolutely certain. She'd paid especially careful attention this morning, memorizing the feel of his presence. Riche sucked in another breath, closing her eyes. Now that she'd located him, she didn't need her vision to tell he was moving. Opening her eyes to confirm, Riche entered the next stage of her plan. Good evening, Lady Riche. Lady Barthel, thank you so much for telling me about that wonderful brand of tea the other day. Oh, Lady Riche, that's an amazing dress. May I ask which merchant supplied it? I'm honored you think so. I got it from the Aria Trading Company. Riche slipped through the venue, trading greetings with various women, taking care not to disturb the atmosphere or be rude. All the while, she made sure no one realized she was avoiding Lavin. He's headed for the center of the hall. Prince Arnold and Prince Kyle are on the western side. From what I know of Lord Lavin's personality, he'll move toward the prince as soon as he spots him. Keeping a close eye on her mark, Riche walked about the hall as naturally as she could, predicting his movements. Ah, he stopped. He must be talking to someone. I've got time to strike up a chat, then. She decided initiating a conversation with someone she'd met at a previous party. When Lavin's presence set off again, Riche swiftly ended her chit-chat as well. This method took up a lot of concentration, but Riche had no choice while the evening dragged on. In my 5th life, I could have tracked someone like this for half a day at least. Oh yeah, because she was, I think, a hunter in one of her previous lives? Come to think of it, concentration is also tied to stamina, isn't it? Uh-oh, her stamina, she don't have good stamina! Once more, Rishi found herself wishing for a hardier body. While bemoaning her poor physical condition, she spotted Arnold and Kyle a distance away. They were close enough to see clearly, but too far to overhear. Even while introducing Kyle to some noble or another, Arnold wore a listless look, like he was in a bad mood. Yeah, because you're not there, and the fact that he has to be there anyway, he's not happy about. Kyle, on the other hand, interacted with each of the Galkind nobles in earnest. The group appeared to be swapping opinions on something. They're so picturesque. Raven-haired Arnold and Prince Kyle with his silvery locks were cut from very different cloth, but both were incredibly attractive. All the nearby women's eyes were glued to them. A portrait of these two would make a killing, and if the image ever disseminated into the lower classes, that one painting could create enormous profit. My Lady Riche, what are you thinking about with such a solemn look on your face? Good evening. I'm just negotiating how I can take in everything I'm learning this evening and transform it into economic stimulation. How wonderful. The Marquise speaking with her grinned. I have just the person to introduce you to, Lady Riche, right here, Baron Wellman. It's an honor to meet you, Lady Riche. The honor is mine, Lord Wellman. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to make your acquaintance today. Riche curtsied, searching her memory. She'd reviewed information on all the Galkind nobility. Baron Wellman, last generation's head of the family, was a merchant who bought himself a title through his success. The Baron smiled gently. It was a pleasant expression, and the man himself was well-mannered. Normally, someone like myself would never dare speak to the future crown princess, but I have heard about you from my mother, you see. I simply had to meet you, so I asked the Marquise to introduce me. Your mother, you say? Yes, you recently visited her store, Lady Riche. The jewelry ladies? Oh, okay. A stir went through the crowd. Lady Riche did business with that moody old crone? Not even the previous empress could shop at that store, and she... Listening to gossip about her, Riche hit upon the woman's identity. Your mother, would she happen to be... Yes, thank you very much for purchasing that gem, the Baron said. My mother was over the moon about it. Did you hear that? Lady Riche really did buy a gem from that store. As the commotion grew louder, Riche became flustered. While she had heard that the store chose its customers carefully, she didn't think it would lead to such an uproar. She hastened to correct the Baron. I merely chose the gem. I didn't buy it from your mother. Prince Arnold did. What? Prince Arnold bought a woman a gem? Yeah, it surprised me too. Riche decided not to say anything else. The Baron smiled wider, effortlessly guiding the conversation to another direction. My son went home that day and immersed himself in the design. Feel free to let me know if there's anything about it that doesn't suit your fancy. Oh, I couldn't possibly. It's such a beautiful, detailed design. I'm greatly looking forward to the finished product. Curious, Riche asked, come to think of it, I heard that there was some craftsman from Koyas willing to complete the ring in a much less time. Does a different set of hands really make such a difference? Lady Riche, the truth is there are no skilled craftsmen in Galkind. Really? Huh. Riche was flabbergasted. Anything designed above a certain level of detail requires supremely skilled hands, and the closest place to find any is across the sea in Koyas. That means most of our production period is spent on transport, but since the craftsmen are here in town now, that period was expedited. I believe that is what my mother meant. Listening in, the Marquise remarked, I did think it was inconvenient that jewelry takes so long to complete, but why does Galkind have no craftsmen? Because of the war, madam. I see. The lady's eyes went wide with the revelation, though Riche had been expecting it. Military prowess is valued in Galkind, isn't it? Many young people train in swordplay and martial arts. Craftsmen were already rare before the war, but there are even fewer now. Riche had seen the same thing in her life as a merchant. Fewer people were buying jewelry, so the craftsmen lost their jobs and became soldiers instead. What I saw in the future war was just a repeat of the past war. Most of the countries skilled in handling precious metals weren't active in the conflict. Koyas, with their skilled artisans, mostly just supported their allied nations. In Koyas, people couldn't even leave their homes in the winter. Their forced yearly quarantine, along with their ample supply of gemstones, made it the perfect place for such craftsmen to hone their skills. That is true. There are plenty of blacksmiths here, but iron processing techniques for weaponry are completely different from ornamental metals. Oh, but this is hardly an appropriate topic of conversation for ladies like yourselves. The Marquise hurriedly agreed with the Baron. That's right, Lord Wellman. You do just love to go on about the war, don't you? Such talk is poison for ladies like us. I apologize for bringing up such a ghastly topic, Lady Riche. Not at all. It was very informative. Riche bowed her head politely and returned to her thoughts. I always figured Galkind obtained a great deal from winning the war, but even an undefeated nation sustains losses, I suppose. She wanted to hear more, but there was no time for that. She feigned additional conversations and searched for her target. Lord Lovin stuck in a discussion on the other side of the room. In confirming that, Risha realized something else. Prince Arnold and Prince Kyle are going out to the balcony. When she searched out their presence, she found Kyle leading Arnold out and away from prying eyes. Risha said her polite goodbyes and quietly followed. Once she was close enough, she could tell that it was indeed only the princes out there on the balcony together. Arnold would likely notice any approach, so Risha suppressed her presence as much as she possibly could. She could walk without making a sound, even in high heels. She hid behind a pillar and strained her ears, splitting her attention between the balcony and Lavin across the room. Yeah, you're going to have to be careful, you might get caught. Galkan is truly a wonderful country. Its propriety is a credit to you, your highness. Or prosperity is a credit to you, your highness, and his majesty as well. Kyle's voice was hard. He was attempting to start the conversation from a casual place and failing. His nervous determination was seeping into his words. There was no way Arnold wouldn't see through him. There's no need for prevarication or transparent compliments. Just as she thought he would. Arnold cut through Kyle's facade. Get to the point. I want to know why you push yourself to make the journey all the way here despite your frail health. After a deep breath, Kyle said, I truly respect all that you've achieved as Crown Prince with every inch of myself. Your policies always have your citizens' best interest at heart. I've come to you instead of your father because I thought you might understand my feelings. I come seeking Galkine's help for Koyas, and I don't mean monetary or medical contributions. Kyle paused and looked at Arnold. I am requesting military aid. I wonder what happened. Risha gasped. Koyas was not a warmongering country. They were severely lacking in military might, after all. In an extremely cold region, surrounded by far more powerful nations, Koyas maintained relations with its neighbors with savvy diplomacy and the wealth its resources afforded them. As you know, Koyas' military is almost non-existent, but that's not by choice. Our neighbors have long put pressure on us to keep our standing army small. We are suffered only as we continue to provide precious gems to nearby countries and by never building up any sort of strength to resist them. In another life, Risha had heard Kyle say these words with the same bitter frustration. Which one had it been? The fate of our country is in the hands of other nations. The royal family is constantly threatened with destruction at our neighbors' whims. I wish to escape these circumstances and do everything I can to protect my people. We must become masters of our own fate, and I beg your assistance with achieving this goal. Arnold's response was more of a growl than usual. In other words, Koyas wishes to abandon its relationships with its neighbors and ally with Galkine instead. Yes, it's exactly as you say. Silence descended on the balcony for some time, amplified by the din of the party just beyond it. Kyle's anxiety seemed to fill the space to the brim. After a while, Arnold's cold voice broke the silence. I've been wondering what you wanted. Tell me, what is the point of royalty if they have gone senile with peace? The air on the balcony grew even more tense. Asking for military assistance from a country separated by the sea to wage war against your neighboring nations is foolish. And what could Koyas even offer us in exchange for our assistance? We would immediately move all exports of gems and precious metals from other countries to Galkine. We will completely forego profit and sell them more cheaply than the material you can mine within your own borders. At last, Rishi understood what Kyle was getting at. On the surface, he appeared to be prioritizing national defense at the expense of everything else. But it was clear to her that wasn't what he intended at all. You can't do this, Prince Kyle. Rishi hung her head and imagined how she'd speak to him. You're too honest. You're not used to lying. Don't make me laugh. As expected, Arnold easily picked up on the hidden message behind Kyle's words. In your place, I would never make such a proposal to another country. And if I did, I would certainly put a time limit on it. Exporting gems, your country's greatest resource, with no regard for profit, is slow suicide. There must be a reason you felt no compulsion to limit the deal. Maybe one you aren't even conscious of. Arnold was right. Rishi knew enough to back up his conjecture. That is, the shape Koyas' export industry would take in a few short years. Koyas is running out of gems to mine, isn't it? Oh, that's not good. Their mines are drying up. That's not good. Kyle went quiet. I see. Risha had interacted with Kyle in several of her lives, and she felt the two of them were pretty close to each other. Or pretty close in each, but she was only ever a lone merchant or apothecary. Naturally, he'd kept such weighty problems a secret from her. Of course, he would only reveal something like this to the people most central to Koyas' government. Koyas had, in the past, protected itself with little more than political marriages and wealth. Without that wealth, its national identity would disappear. Once it had nothing left to offer its neighboring countries, it would only be a matter of time before they clashed, with the victor inevitably adding Koyas' territory to its own. Something like that happened in the future. When Arnold became emperor and declared war on the world, a country with no military might like Koyas was forced to surrender before the fighting even started, doing its best to minimize the damage. But the countries surrounding Koyas didn't allow that. Ships from Galkind had to enter the continent through Koyas' ports, enemy seizure of which would have been an unprecedented blow to the other northern countries, so Koyas' allied nations forced it to fight, threatening to invade Koyas themselves if it refused. Having no choice, they entered the war. They mustered what few knights they had and lost almost all of them. Risha still remembered that from her life as an apothecary. Weitzner, I want to protect this country. It had happened before there was almost no knights left in Koyas. Kyle had taken up a sword himself, not listening when Risha tried to stop him. Oh dear. I'll do anything it takes. Fortune has allowed me to live this long, and therefore I must shoulder this great task. Risha didn't know what became of Kyle after that. She'd lost her own life on a battlefield while providing medical aid. There's a part of this I don't understand. Arnold's tone proved he had no interest whatsoever in what he was asking. Your actions are nothing but folly. Why would you come all the way here with no plan? Kyle answered quickly. I won't live much longer. He slowed down, speaking with a sort of tragic determination. New life will soon be born into our royal family. I need to use the rest of my time to preserve the future for that child, along with the citizens of my country. Ha! It was obvious that none of this mattered to Arnold. The words that came out of his mouth next were unexpected. Want to know my secret to winning wars? Pardon me? The hidden Riche was just as surprised as Kyle. Arnold didn't let Kyle's reaction stop him. As a king, win the hearts of your people with your policies. As a military commander, choose resourceful generals who excel at leadership. His footsteps echoed loudly. Select skilled soldiers who will follow commands and maintain order without fail. Rewards and punishments for soldiers must be fair, and they must be strict. Keep a firm grasp on the terrain of a battle and fight in favorable weather conditions whenever you can. There's more, but that covers the basics. Arnold went on, even if you follow every bit of my advice, Koya still won't win a war. You don't have the power to apply it. Can your people stop chopping firewood for winter to undergo military training instead? Do you have time to quarrel with other countries instead of growing food? Nope. Most likely no to both of those questions. Past royals likely decided to try diplomacy for just this reason. Arnold turned to Kyle and said mercilessly, true talent consists of putting existing knowledge into practice, and I have no interest in those without talent. Not even a prince from another nation. Oh boy, he's essentially telling him, no, I'm not helping you. Please wait, Prince Arnold. No, you seem to be laboring under a misapprehension. So let me speak plainly. In regards to this matter, the Emperor and I are of the same mind. The atmosphere went frigid. I'd much rather conquer a country than ally with one. Arnold's footsteps came closer until Riche hurried to leave before he noticed her. She ditched the hall, paying close attention to Lavin's presence all the while. Escaping the party's chattering, she hid in a palace corridor. Hunching in the corner, she allowed her thoughts to take over. Her mind was roiling with the conversation she'd just overheard. This is a turning point. Riche took a shallow breath. Prince Kyle proposed an alliance with Prince Arnold. It might be a trivial incident in Galkind's history, but for Koyas, this is a crucial moment that leads to the tragedy 5 years from now. Koyas only had two choices. Face destruction at the hands of Galkind, or face destruction at the hands of its neighbors. If it were to ally with Galkind here, and that alliance granted it the power to fend off neighboring countries, Koyas need not meet the same fate. I can't mess up now. Rich's lips pressed in a tight line as she racked her brains. Kyle is willing to do whatever it takes to form an alliance with Galkind, but that doesn't matter. If Koyas is bargaining from a subordinate position, they'll just be swapping one master for another. There was only one good solution. Koyas, which doesn't have much power, must form an equal relationship with the extremely formidable Galkind. Risha felt like collapsing where she stood. Was such a thing even possible? She had no way to meet with the Emperor of Galkind. All she could do was focus on changing Arnold's mind. I'd much rather conquer a country than ally with one. He sounded like he meant it. Rishi clenched her fist, despairing at the enormousness of the task set before her. Yeah, I don't know what the heck you're going to do to change his mind. Alright, what about this, Lucius? Something sliced through the air in concert with Sven's shout. Dressed as a boy, Riche clapped, her eyes sparkling. Sven's sword drew beautiful lines in the air. That's amazing, Sven. Your form was perfect just now. Riche was always excited to watch people improve. Sven's face lit up at her praise before he schooled his expression and straightened up. It's only natural for me, really. He swung again and again, tracing the same lines he'd drawn before. Repetition was one of the best ways to learn. She was happy to see him being so proactive about it. Risha put her own wooden sword down, gauging the hour from the position of the sun. It's about that time. Let's take a break and then clean the training grounds. I won't let you claim better than me either. I'm going to go drink some water first. Risha watched Sven head toward the well. She spun around. Hey, Fritz, in that sparring match, Fritz, who was doing practice swings behind her, dropped his sword. Sorry, you were concentrating, huh? Oh, no, not really. Yeah, I was. I think he was questioning his sexuality. Oh, dear Lord. Fritz reached for his sword, fingers brushing against Riche's as he went for it at the same time. They only touched for a split second, but Fritz yelped and leaped back like he'd been electrocuted. Huh? Did I shock you? Well, that's strange. It shouldn't be dry enough for the season for static electricity. No, Lou, why are your fingers so slender and dainty? My fingers? Rachel jumped, remembering a time in her nightly life when someone had found out she was a woman from her build. Oh, how did that go, by the way? She smiled to cover her reaction as best she could. Mine are normal, don't you think? You two train a lot, so yours are probably sturdier than most people's. Right, yours are normal. They're normal. She found herself worrying about Fritz again as he muttered to himself. He'd said he hadn't slept well the day before. Maybe he really was feeling under the weather. But don't worry about me. What about you, Lou? Are you okay? I'm fine. My muscles are a lot less sore than before. That's good, though you do seem kind of down. Normally you never let training get to you, no matter how tough it is. But you were hanging your head and sighing earlier. I was just a little concerned. Rachel was surprised that Fritz had been paying so much attention to her. He really does have the makings of a knight. He keeps a watchful eye on everyone around him, and he looks out for others even during his own training. That's not easy. Knights like this tended to be suited to leadership positions. Nice! Basking in her renewed appreciation for Fritz, she apologized for worrying him. I'm sorry, I've just had a lot on my mind. I get it. I won't ask you what it is you're worried about, but let me know if there's anything I can do. Sometimes just talking about something can help. Thanks, Fritz. Don't mention it. You should sit and rest for a bit longer. Want me to get you some water? No, I'm fine, Risha said. Watch your own hydration levels, too. Yeah, I know. I'll be right back. Rishi waved to Fritz as he headed to the well, then slowly sank onto the bench. There's no way I could tell him my worries. She couldn't say she needed to change the future and prevent a war from breaking out several years from now, nor could she explain her current task of improving Galkine's relations with Koyas. How would Fritz react to, hey, how would you put two countries on an equal bargaining footing? Yeah, I wonder what would happen if you tried to tell Arnold what she's been going through, the whole, dying and then being reset, essentially. I wonder how he would react to that. He probably thinks she's crazy. Or who knows, he might actually believe her. Who knows? Moreover, Rishi hadn't spoken to Arnold since she'd overheard his conversation on the balcony last night. Well, they talked, but not about anything significant. Under scrutiny of the party guests and their own guards, she couldn't have mentioned important matters. Even if they had been alone together, she would have been at a loss over how to bring up his discussion with Kyle. I wonder if last night's events happened in my other lives too. She could barely sleep after witnessing it. Rishi hugged her knees, resting her forehead on top of them, and thought, Prince Kyle's pretext for coming to this country was to celebrate my engagement to Prince Arnold. That makes me think this might be the first time. And even if the prince's conversation had occurred in her past lives, Galkine and Koyas had never been allies. In other words, the talks never went well. She really couldn't let this opportunity pass by. As her thoughts went in circles, she was approached by a presence she recognized. Alcott, you're early. Lord Lavin. Rishi's guard went up at the sight of him. He shot her an odd look as he entered the training grounds. She didn't think she'd been that obvious. So he really was observant. She couldn't very well say, I spent all last night fleeing from your presence. This was just reflex. I heard Fritz Noland yelling, so I came to see if there was any trouble. Are you not feeling well? I was just resting. Rishi hurriedly brushed the dust from her clothes. I was brooding over something pretty pathetic, and the guilt really got to me. I couldn't help my knee-jerk reaction when I saw you. She was trying to play off her suspicious behavior, though it wasn't even a lie. Something pathetic, you say? Risha hesitated for a moment, then said, when we cadets become knights and we end up going to war, then they'd all have to fight in that war, wouldn't they? I suppose they would. I was thinking how everyone here might have a dangerous future in store for them, and that kind of scared me. In truth, she'd been thinking that for some time now. In her life as a knight, Galkind was the enemy. Their knights were truly powerful and a terrible threat on the battlefield, but it wasn't as if none of them ever died. Looking at Fritz and the other cadets, she wanted them to achieve their dreams. But at the rate things were going, those dreams would lead them to war. My son lost his life in the last war, Lavin said with a soft smile. As much as I would like to praise him for fighting with pride and meeting with an honorable end, I deeply wish he was still alive. Well, of course! Why wouldn't you want him to still be alive? He's your son! Oh, Lord Lavin. Risha could say nothing more, so Lavin continued. I want the young people of today to grow up strong. I want their futures to be full of hope. I long for it, having lost my own son. His voice was kind but forlorn. Reishi realized for the first time why he watched over the trainees with such sympathy in his eyes. War steals people's futures. To conquer that fear, you have to stand against it. Stand against it how? You must not deny your hopes or your emotions, Reishi. Let them be the fuel that drives you forward. Find your mission and complete it. Reishi considered his words, my hopes and my mission. Reishi had been a knight herself once. She had a lord she respected and she sworn to protect him and his family. Even now, she didn't regret giving up her life for them. At the same time, she balked at the thought of how she treasured being in danger. Balked at the thought of those she treasured being in danger. She didn't want to watch her comrades lose their lives the way she had. Thank you, sir. Well, it appears there's nothing to worry about here, so I'll be on my way. See you later. With that, Lavin dipped his head politely and left the training grounds. Watching him go, she thought, I want to be free. I don't want to die. For this, I need to stop the war, and I don't want Koyas to be destroyed either. But that's not all. She squatted down again and squeezed her eyes shut, digging deep. Right now, Galkind's military might is feared the world over. Because of its overwhelming power, it has no favorable equal relationships with other countries. Before, Risha assumed it was Arnold's father, the Emperor, who ruled with warlike ferocity. But last night, Arnold has said he and the Emperor were of the same mind. Risha recalled Arnold's words in self-deprecating tone. He said, I'd rather conquer a country than ally myself with one. Does he really believe that? It had been a month and a half since she'd come to Galkind. Having observed Arnold from up close, she just couldn't see it. If Prince Arnold thinks of himself that way... She slowly opened her eyes. I need to tell him it's not true. He might not even realize, and she just couldn't just say it. She needed to make him see it for himself. There must be countries that Galkind didn't annex, that they don't yet have hostile relationships with. If it wasn't just Koyas, but maybe many others, maybe Prince Arnold's future actions could change as well. Risha slowly stood up. She took a deep breath and slapped her cheeks, then looked ahead. I have to think hard and charge forward to bring my hopes to fruition. Times are going to keep moving. Nothing will change if I don't act. While she gave herself a pep talk, Sven and Fritz returned from their water break. Sorry that took so long, Lou. Huh? You look like you're doing better. Yeah, I realized I just needed to think, and there's no point in worrying. When training was over, she would plan her next moves. As Fritz had said, her head was clearer, and she felt much better. I think I'm gonna end this off here, guys. I'll see y'all in the next video.